Hi, everyone. I'm Julie Rodgers Vargas, and I lead global market development for the food sector at Avery Dennison. Avery Dennison is a Fortune 500 company, 85 years in the making, focusing on large roll-to-roll manufacturing for all sorts of materials. We were founded on the invention of the self-adhesive label, but since then we have expanded material science in a myriad of ways across multiple verticals. In particular, you'll find us in places like the label on your shampoo bottle, or the reflective tapes on traffic signals, or even in places like your price ticket or care label and garments that you purchase. My division, Intelligent Labels, is actually working at the intersect of material science and technology, working to infuse sensors and integrated circuits into everyday packaging in order to drive the connectivity of a physical object to digital functionality, driving a multitude of functionality, but in particular, really driving data behind the Industry 4.0 trends that you see. In particular, my team is focused on the food segment. So we work with food manufacturers, distributors, supermarkets, restaurants, all along the food supply chain to really understand where and how digital identities can drive everything from improved retail operations all the way through supply chain visibility and ultimately reduce waste and improve efficiency across the entire supply chain. Our teams are focusing on a wide variety of challenges in manufacturing, but in particular, when you look at Industry 4.0, if you think about steam being the driver of the first industrial revolution, we firmly believe that data and access to data will be the driver for the fourth. And when you think about that, there's a lot of data in our lives. We have our little devices, we click through all of our apps, we're connected all the time. But if you think about the physical objects in your everyday life, particularly those in apparel or in the food sector, they're actually not connected. Most of them are offline. So what our teams are working on is how do you take that product that's at the center of the supply chain, give it a digital identity that's unique, but also something that you're able to access automatically to drive increased amounts of data so that you can do things like improve the connection between production and consumption, but then also automate decision-making along the entire supply chain to become more efficient. In particular, if you look at manufacturing, a lot of the automation processes are vertically automated. So you see robots and conveyors, but when you think about the vertical connection of the product from the time of creation and design all the way through manufacturing, there's very little data, even less data when you start to go between trading partners across that supply chain all the way through to the consumer. And what data there is, a little of it is digitized, and not a lot of it is available for decision making. So we're working there to really automate those processes, drive connectivity, and use data to make sure that we can truly tell what we have, where it is, what we need, and when we need it. So for Industry 4.0, when we look specifically at food, one of the biggest opportunities that's been out there is blockchain. And so everyone has looked at how do you take data and really share it. As I mentioned before, the sharing of that data was very challenging. But you also think about perishable food. There isn't a lot of time between the time it's produced or collected to the time of consumption. So the data has to move fast. It has to be automated so that you're not adding price or cost into that supply chain. And then ultimately, you have to make sure that it's accurate. We're in particular are using RFID technology, so tiny integrated circuits and the product packaging that can be read, that have a unique identity, but that can also be read in an environment. You can read thousands at one time. So what does that mean? That means that each physical product, instead of having to manually scan it or manually capture it with an optical scanner, you can read them quickly throughout the entire supply chain. So imagine for a minute you're a fresh food producer and you're actually wrapping pallets and pallets of meat at a pallet station. As those boxes are spinning, you can be capturing every single identity that's on one of the cartons. And as you capture that, you can also be capturing where it's headed. So that in the case of any type of withdrawal event, or just for sheer knowledge around what you manufacture and where it's going, you can actually look that up quite quickly. That is automated and connected through digital functionality, and you can even share that with trading partners. So if there is a withdrawal event, it can take you minutes to identify and notify people impacted versus days and days of trying to find which products went where and how to contact the people that have received them. Thanks so much for having me today, Wendy, and good luck with the show.